In this video, we're going to revisit Zaharoff Signature Royale, and we're going to use the RazoRock Lupo 95 2021 version. Stay tuned. Hey there, folks, and welcome back for another video. I'm your host, CDB. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And as mentioned before, today we're going to revisit Zaharoff Signature Royale. A gentleman's nod sent me a new tub of this, so we look forward to trying it today. This is a great fragrance. The fragrance is all world. It is a great frag that I think most people will appreciate. We'll go ahead and show you how it is described right there, or give you the notes. It is really a fantastic fragrance. In fact, one of my favorite scents of all time. Really excellent. Here are the ingredients of the soap as well. And as you know before, we struggled a little bit lathering this particular soap the last time, but I did send an ounce back to Gentleman's Nod, and they sent me another tub, so we look forward to giving it another go. Today also we're going to be using the RazoRock Lupo stainless steel. This is the 2021 version, 9.5 blade gap. Comes to you for about $69.99, so not bad for all stainless steel. By the way, the price on the Zaharoff, it's a special edition kind of soap with a great frag. So it's on the pricey side. It's $29 for 4 ounces, and on our cost chart right there, excuse me, painful at $7.25, but honestly, this is one of those soaps. The scent is so great that I just love it. And hopefully we'll have a better result with it today. So we're going to start today, 24 hours growth, by the way. And I'm going to use a little bit of a PAA pre-shave soap just to add a little bit of volume, because what I noticed today when I was lathering it in the bowl, it was certainly better. And I used more product. It was certainly better, but it is what they call a low structure soap. In other words, it doesn't have the kind of volume that I'm accustomed to personally based on my conditions here. And I don't know if it's my water or what, but it's definitely better. I noticed a lot of the soap was being caught in the brush. So when I went to squeeze the brush out, there was a ton of soap in it, but it wasn't in the sort of bulb area of the brush. And we're using the, by the way, the InviShave 8-ball. So I squeezed that out, and there's a ton of soap in this brush. Not nearly as much in the bowl, but it is well hydrated and it should go nicely. Let me go ahead and wet the face here. And we hope to have a good result today. This fragrance is, like I said, absolutely top notch. So no problem at all with the fragrance. And hopefully we'll have a better job with the soap. And some of that soap was dripping out there from the bottom. So there's definitely a lot of soap in the brush. And the soap that's there is very creamy in its consistency, but based on my conditions, and by the way, the way I prepared this was to use a very damp brush, and I used about a half teaspoon of soap, and then I added actually a little bit more, and then I took my damp brush and sort of worked it. And again, you know, this is just not a high volume soap based on my conditions. Now, a lot of people will use this and, you know, it's great for them. But I noticed just relative to other soaps that I use on a daily basis, this one is more low structure. It will give you a very creamy, as you can see that the lather is hydrated and very creamy. But it's definitely what they call low structure, meaning volume-wise, not quite as much as some soaps have to offer. But I would say this is going to be slick, and that's really all that's going to be necessary. But I did notice a lot of the soap was it was in the brush, almost like a sort of latherless shaving cream. But this one did do better, and I used a little more product. So I would say my first experience with this particular soap was on me, at least in part. But on the same token, for me, this is just not a high volume soap. So don't expect the type of volume you might get out of PAA or Sterling or even A&E or something like that. Because in my experience, I've lathered this particular one, this version at least, several times, about 5 times. And it's low structure, but I tell you right now, that is slick. And so it is very slick. There is good residual slickness there. And really, that's all you need. But volume-wise, I found that the volume was kind of being trapped in the brush. Because when I squeezed it out, there was almost a bowl full of lather just in the knot. And that's unusual. It's just it's sort of a different kind of formulation. And so, absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just different than what I'm accustomed to. So I'll take responsibility for that, for sure. It was just a weird kind of situation, but I used, by the way, Astra SP is the blade, if you're curious. I used the Gentleman's Nod Kanpai and the original Zaharoff soap, and I had no issues whatsoever. And so I don't know why on this particular one I struggled a little bit. But scent-wise, home run, absolutely one of my favorite all-time fragrances. But the soap, based on my conditions, a little bit low structure, I would call it. But very, very slick. And so from that perspective, very, very nice. Very nice. No problems there with that first pass. Felt really good. The Lupo is just fantastic. At its price, I find it to be really hard to beat. All right, and let's see what we can do here for pass number 2. I know a lot of people say, load from the tub, and I've tried that too off cam, and it did work. So this soap will absolutely lather, but the way it lathers is just a little bit different for my use case, and that's something that you should always consider, the way we do things. And you might have to sort of experiment and find a way that works best for you. And a lot of people have no trouble whatsoever with this. So this is something that's just sort of unique to me. But and I don't over hydrate at the beginning. I do need hydration in my lather, but I try not to overhydrate. What happens with me on this particular soap is, even though there's almost no hydration early on when I'm lathering it, it just kind of disappears into the brush. But like I said, once I squeezed the brush, there was a bunch that came out. So maybe at the end, I'll see how much is left in here. It'll probably be a good bit. Now, I can tell you right now that is thin, but it is perfectly adequate. Perfectly adequate. And if I want to build more volume, I can continue to work this and achieve it. As you can see there, that's very, very creamy. But it's no problem. It's no problem. And so again, this is just my use case, which is probably different from yours, and you always have to take that into consideration. What are the water, even my face, the chemistry in my face, all those things come into play. And I've experimented with this soap quite a bit off cam, and I get pretty much the same result regardless of what I do. So for me, it does not develop a ton of volume, almost regardless of what I do. However, the lather is creamy and slick, and that's all I need. So for me, it's not going to be a show lather on video, but it is slick and it smells great. And so that's really all I need. And so there's really, I would say that overall, the experience is definitely better. And I would take some responsibility in those first couple of efforts, because for whatever reason, the Royale, unlike the previous 2 cardinal bases, it was different for me. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But I will say I've lathered hundreds, if not maybe, I don't know if it's 1,000, but it's certainly well north of 500 soaps. And, if something's really, really different, chances are it's either the soap or has something to do with my water or conditions. Because David Gonzalez used this and it was fantastic, had great volume and all. But for me, even when I load from the tub and face lather it, the volume is not quite where other soaps are. But again, I can't say this enough, because I know people will watch these videos and they'll sort of key in on certain points. And if I say there's not enough volume, and I say for me, they're like, do this, do that. And I'm like, believe me, I've tried. But honestly, in terms of the shave, it's providing everything I need. Everything I need. And I do appreciate Gentleman's Nod for sending a replacement, even though I told them, that wasn't really necessary after I sent them the sample back. I didn't have great communication, if I'm being honest, with Gentleman's Nod, because I was a little bit unhappy. I'm sure they were unhappy too. We both could have done a lot better, And I certainly take responsibility for that. Sometimes you just make these videos and things don't work out, and what you intend to put across is not, you don't do it as well as you would like. And so the one thing I want to emphasize today is this soap is providing everything that I need. But is it as enjoyable for me to use as most of the other soaps? No, because I'd like a little bit more volume, but in terms of shaving, it's offering everything I need. Plenty slick. The fragrance is all world. It is one of the best fragrances, I would say, of all time. And, that's that. But it just so happens with this particular one, I'm not sure why it is that the volume is not exactly what I would like. And I'm not loading it down with tons of water, by the way. It just kind of disappears into the breath. It's almost, it's weird. That's the only way I can explain it. And so, on the other hand, it is perfectly adequate, albeit thin. But this is just my case, my use case, my conditions, the way that I lather. This particular one is not one that I get the best out of, and I'm not blaming the soap. The way I do things, it doesn't come around quite as much as I would like. And I do have to use more product. So I could probably drastically modify things and achieve a better result. So I'm not blaming the soap. But this particular, the one with the Royale here, in which you can see they're slick, but let's see if I can squeeze some of this out so you can see, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. So you can see there is a lot of hydration in that. And that's because I've been rinsing the hydration off the brush, or rinsing the lather off the brush, and it's getting into the knot. But when I first started, that wasn't nearly as runny. But now that I've been rinsing the brush, it's gotten a lot of water in it. And so it's probably it's definitely more hydrated now than it needs to be. That is my fault. So again, I'll take responsibility for that. But overall, this one just isn't for me, a soap that provides a lot of volume for me. And I'm only speaking for me. But a lot of people achieve excellent results and excellent volume with it. So, always take that in consideration. This one is just one that, based on the way I do things, it doesn't produce quite as much as I would like. But let me caveat once again, in terms of the shave, fantastic slickness, which is really all I need. But I don't want someone to come along and see the lather and go, oh, that's a crap soap, because it is not. It has not been any stretch of their imagination. That's on me. So I want to make that clear and make sure that I'm being fair at all times. But I experimented with this one quite a bit, and it's just a little different for my water and use case. And this will happen on occasion. Every now and then this happens. But overall, it's very slick, and it's doing what it needs to do. I would say, in that regard, very, very nice. And the scent, I can't say enough good things about the scent. It is, in my opinion, one of the best scents of all time. Obviously very professionally done. Absolutely terrific. And I think most people, if you get the best out of this soap with your conditions, it's going to be very good for you. So I don't have any problem recommending the soap. Like I said, I think we both could have done better on communication and, sort of handling the situation. But in terms of the soap, I think most people, if you get the best out of this soap, it's going to work very well for you. And I hope people will watch long enough to, take the entire thing you know, watch all the comments and not just part and go, oh, you know, he said something negative about it, because that's just not the case. I'm just saying, for my conditions and the way I do things, it's not quite, this particular one is not quite as enjoyable. I do not know why. The lather volume is not quite as enjoyable. And of course, if you look at the lather there at the end, there's way too much water in it now, but I've been rinsing my brush to get the water off the handle, so that's where all that water came from. But when I first squeezed when I made the lather, before I started the video, and I first squeezed it out into the bowl, there was just a ton of product in there. And so it can hang in the brush, is what it was doing for me. And now, of course, there's too much water in it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it is slick. And it smells great, and the skin feels good too. I don't usually measure post, but I think this is probably one of the soaps that has those properties to it that will provide for a good post. That's not anything that I normally measure. But so a lot of good qualities with this soap, but for me, not quite as enjoyable apart from the scent, which I love. All right, let me rinse and then we'll come back and get into the post. Stay tuned. All right, and we are back in off cam. We did a warm water rinse, and let me tell you, it took a while to get off my face because there is a lot of slickness in that soap. So I'm telling you right now, very slick. After the warm water rinse, we followed up with the PAA alum block, no stinging. So that was a really nice, smooth shave. We did a cold water rinse. And then we applied our Thayer's Magic, because it's made by witches, of course. So to the soap, it still didn't produce the type of volume for me under my conditions and the way that I lather. However, all world scent, perfectly legit for shaving, even though that lather was a little thin in terms of what you saw. Perfectly shaveable. In other words, no lack of slickness, no problems whatsoever with it. I'll have to keep working on it, because I think honestly it's mostly me, but perhaps this particular formula, although I haven't struggled with the ones in the past, I'm puzzled a little bit that I'm not getting quite as much volume, but we'll work at it. We'll change things. We'll go a little drier. And I think, honestly, even though I sort of struggle with it, I think most people will not. And I can absolutely recommend the soap. In terms of the scent and the quality, in terms of delivering a good shave, it is a very, very good soap. I tend to struggle with it on the lathering and getting what I want out of it. But that doesn't mean by any stretch it's a bad soap, because it is not. And the Frag is tremendous, one of the best of all time. And I'll say the communication with Gentleman's Nod, both from my standpoint and theirs, was less than desirable. So on the service side, I'm glad they sent the replacement, but I think both of us could have done better. But I think it's something that we can work on and just try to get better in the future. And I'll try to get better at representing these products too, because a lot of that is on me, to be honest with you. And I always try to call it like I see it. Okay, so normally I would use the Zaharoff Splash, which is tremendous. And for me, it lasts all day. But my wife has been struggling with some asthma issues, and this is stout, so I don't want to, she's got to come in here and get ready. And I don't want to leave the trail of Zaharoff in here because it'll choke her. So I'm going to finish off with some Lucky Tiger. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining. Until next time, I've been your host, CDB, and I'm saying, it's your shave, do it your way, and have a great day.